Hello everyone and welcome to my channel SimplyBI. My name is Harshit and today we are going to learn more on the Power Query editor. So this is the part 3 of the video and today we are going to start with the advanced editor option. Now in the previous video we saw like we in the orders table we have made some changes, right? We performed some operations and those operations were captured in the applied steps window, right? So now these operations, what does the Power Query editor do? It converted all of these operations into a M query. Now, if you want to see the queries, now on the home tab, you can see there is an option called advanced editor over here. Okay. So if you just click on this advanced editor, it opens up another window. Okay. So now here, all of these things, all of these queries are the M queries over here, like what all we did in the applied steps window. So first of all, we imported the data from the source from OData feed. So this is the first thing. Then we selected the orders table. Then we removed columns like customer, employee, order details, shipper, etc. Then we changed the data type and then we replace the errors. Okay. Now you can also, what you can do, like what we did earlier was we went to the column, we selected the column and then removed the column, right? So also you can remove the column in the M query. Let's say I want to remove the order ID table, order ID column. So what I'll do, I'll just write over here. I'll just select this. I'll just write the order ID. Okay. Now, if I click on say done, then that column will be removed. Okay. So you can perform your operations using the M queries as well. Okay. And but you require more knowledge, you require more practice to perform operations on the M query. So it is much easier to just perform the operations on the query editor. Okay. Now, uh, let's close this. We're not gonna change, we're not gonna delete any more columns. Okay, so just done. Okay, okay. So now, let's say you want to change the column name. Okay. So how can we do it? Let's say I want to change the column name for in the orders details table. Let's say I want to change the column name for this unit price. So I can just double click and I can make the changes over here, right? I can add space or I can rename the column. So here in an script, okay, you need to write the script, okay, for if you want to change this thing. So what generally we do, let's say we went to the advanced editor option, okay, and here if you want to change the column name, you have to write the, or whatever operations you want to perform, you can either write the M query as well. Okay, so we will not be going ahead with this because it is much easier to just rename the column by just double clicking on that. Okay, great. Now, let's move ahead to another topic for today. Today, we are going to learn what are query dependency. Okay. Now, let's say you are building a very complex data model. Okay. And where you are importing data from many data sources and you have around 50-60 tables imported. Now, if I ask you, like, can you tell me, like, from where this data or from where this from where the data source this table is imported? It would be very difficult to remember when we are working with a very big data set. So, to solve this, we have how to fix this. We have an option called query dependency. Okay, so if we go to just this view tab, okay, and if we just click on the query dependency, so now this query dependency will open up a window and you can see a tree-like structure for all of your queries over here. Okay, let me just zoom in a bit for you. Okay, so here, if you just, let's say, uh, if you click on any of the table, okay, if I click on this data source, I can see that all of these tables over here, okay, are the part of this data source. Now, if I unclick on this, and let's say if I want to select this particular data set table, okay, this particular query. So you can say shippers table is from this O data feed. Now, since it is a very simple data set we have taken, so there is only one main data source and all of the tables are, you already know, from this data source only. So let's do one thing. Let's import a data from Excel, okay, and check on that. So let's import. Okay, let me just take this tab, this only. Okay. Um, Here we have, let's say we take up a returns table, okay, or people and returns table. Let's add this. Okay. Now these two tables are also added. So now let's see how the query dependency works. So again, go to this view tab, click on query dependencies. And here, if I zoom in a bit, okay, so just a second. Yeah. So if I zoom in a bit, okay, you can see here that now there are two data sources. Okay. So if I select this regions table, it is pointing out to this data source over here, or data feed. But if I now select this returns table, it is pointing out to the another data source with the one Excel which we have just imported. Okay. Now, uh, I hope this query dependency topic is clear to you. Okay. So, okay. So now let's start understanding what are the managed columns in Power Query Editor. Okay. So let's say we are in the orders table. Okay. And there are so many columns over here. Okay. But I don't you want to use so many columns when I'm performing some data operations, or these columns are not required to me. Okay. So normally what will I do? I will just select the columns and then I will click on the right click and then remove the columns. Okay. But what you can do, you can directly go to this manage columns option in the home tab, then select on this choose columns, and then you click on this choose columns. So here, so you can manually select like which columns you require in your table. Okay. So I've selected three columns and you can see that I have only the three columns here with me. Okay. So now this thing is very useful when you are working with data having multiple columns, like let's say 50, 60 columns. Okay. And you require only 50 columns. Now, when you are doing this, there comes a question like, if I'm working with an Excel data, okay, and if I want to just import, let's say I have around 15, 20 columns, and I just want to import 10 columns only from Excel. But so is this possible? Can I work with those 10 columns? But when you are importing data from Excel, it would be very difficult. But what will happen? All of those 20 columns will be imported in the Power Query editor. But however, in the manage columns option, you can choose the 10 columns or 5 columns which you want to work and then go ahead. Okay. But in when you're dealing with SQL, you can already write a query. Okay. You can just name the columns which you want and then you can import. So in SQL, this is possible, but not with the help in the case of an Excel data. Okay. Now, so if you right click now, one more thing to understand, like if you right click on this, now there are two options. Okay. One is remove and another one is remove other columns. So what is the difference between those? So let's say you have selected 4 or 5 columns and you click on remove. Okay. So this will only remove the selected columns. But if you just click on remove other columns, it will remove all the other columns except for the selected ones. Okay. So I hope this is clear to you. Now, if you see here that there is a remove columns button also in the manage column section. Okay. If you click on this, okay. So there you can see remove columns and remove other columns. Great. Okay. Now, if we have, let's say in our data or in our table, we have some duplicate columns. Okay. So how can we remove those duplicate columns? Okay. So in the home tab only, you can see there is an tab called reduce rows over here. So if you click on this remove row and you can click on this remove duplicates over here. Okay. So this will remove your duplicate column. Okay. So now let's go to this order details table. Okay. So here I have selected three columns, that is the order ID, product ID, and the quantity column. Okay. Now, based on the quantity, okay, I want only those orders where quantity is top 10. Okay. So instead of making, let's say, instead of making changes in the main table, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna duplicate this. So right click on any table and click on duplicate. So now we have the duplicate table over here. Okay. So what I wanted was, I want only those orders, okay, where quantity is in the top 10. Okay. So what we will do, we'll just select this quantity, okay, and we'll click on this sort button. Okay. Now, so and we want the top 10 columns. Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna keep rows and then we'll select on these keep top rows and then enter the number. So we want a top 10. So we'll just enter 10. Great. Click on OK. So now you can see here, this is the top 10 quantities, okay, with related to order ID. Now, uh, there may be another thing possible that with this one order, okay, 10764, we may have multiple lines, okay, like here it says 130 is the quantity. In another line, it must be 2, 3, or 5 quantity. Okay, okay. So now what we want to do here is we want to group by first all the quantity for each order, and after that we want the top 10 orders based on the quantity. Okay, let me repeat it for you. What we are going to do, we want to group by first all the quantity for each order, and after that we want the top 10 orders based on the quantity. So for this, we need to understand like how the grouping works in Power BI. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're just going to group this order ID and the quantity columns. Okay. So now what we are going to do before we perform the group by operation. Okay. So first we will go back to the step, like we will remove this top 10 rows. Okay. We'll keep the full data ready with us. Now we'll select the order ID column. Okay. Go to group by over here. And what we're going to do, we're just going to write the new column name, that is total ordered quantity. Okay. Then we're just going to perform a sum operation on the quantity column and done. Click on OK. So now you can see here we have 10248, total quantity is 27. Okay, total order quantity. So now we just wanted the top 10. So first what we are going to do, we are going to sort this out. Click on this sort. Okay, now we have it over here and we wanted the top 10 rows. So we will just click on top 10 rows and select the number 10. Great. And we have it over here, right? Okay. So I hope this group by concept is clear to everyone. So that's it for this video. If you have any doubts or if you have any questions, please do post in the comment section and I will be happy to answer. Okay. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more.